So in this video, I'll be showing you how to clean up all your photos and just make them look better overall. Okay, to start, when you click the select subject button, you'll see that it does a really poor job at selecting the subject. You really get all this, and it can take you time to select the proper subject. So what you can do, go to the search bar and search image processing. Then come to select subject and remove background and change it to cloud, detailed results. So it'll take a bit longer to process the selection, but it's a lot more accurate. So check here. So as you can see, it selected all the other cars, but if we zoom in here, this selection is almost perfect compared to the other one. Obviously it's never going to be exactly perfect, you'll always have to make some adjustments, but we'll work with this. So next thing we want to do is make sure that the subject that we want to keep is the only thing that we have selected. So in this case, we've got this Porsche over here and the Audi R8 over here also selected, as well as this tree. So we will deselect this. I'm doing this by holding Alt with the lasso tool and just deselecting. Now we're going to get in closer here. Hold Alt and just deselect what we don't want to keep. A lot of people like using the pen tool. I'm personally not a big fan, as it takes quite a lot of effort to learn how to use it. So I use the polygonic lasso tool and I find it works perfectly for me. So it doesn't have to be exactly perfect, but as long as we've got more or less our subject fully outlined that we want to keep. Once we've got this, our full subject, you want to click Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V to paste this subject on a new layer, and just check, make sure it's selected perfectly, make sure it's selected nicely, and make sure everything's all good. Then what we can do, select the background layer, make sure you're working on that layer, and now you can do a very rough selection of the subject that you want to remove. So I'll start off with this Audi R8. And then generative fill. So with generative fill, you don't even have to be very specific. I literally just use the prompt remove. Now you see that's removed. So you can zoom in, check everything's good. Gives you 3 options as well. So if you're not happy with this one, you can check the next one. If you're not happy with that, check the next. And if you're not happy with any of them, you can regenerate. I think that looks pretty decent. So I will keep this one. Now, this one is where it gets a bit more tricky. So that we've got this Porsche, but it's behind over here. So what we have to do is, because you've selected this layer, and make sure this one is above the remove layers, right? Work underneath the subject layer, and you can make a super rough selection like this. Super rough. I'm literally getting half the car in, but that's fine because we've got it saved on this layer here. Super rough selection. I'll get the painted line in as well, and make sure you get the shadows. Then make sure, this is the most important step, make sure that you are working underneath the subject layer. Then generative fill, remove. Now, this is the problem that everybody's facing, and I keep getting questions on how I do this, how do I fix this. Look here. So you see, when you zoom in, you can see this part of the car. It's generated what it thinks the car should be because we selected that originally. So that's fine. It's not a problem. That's why we did the first selection in the first place. If I remove it, you can see over here, this is what it's generated. We don't want that. We want the actual car. So all you do is make sure you're underneath the subject layer. On any layer underneath, select what you want to remove, which is that section, because I want it to be how it is over here. Generative fill and remove. But as long as you make sure you're working under the subject layer, it should be fine. So this process takes quite a bit of trial and error and quite a lot of patience. As you can see, it's still not perfect. If I remove the top layer, you can still see it's got this section in, it's got the wing in here, and a bit more down here. So just do that again. Simple as that, until you're happy with what you've got. So now that we've got that done, you can see that the car is now fine, but we've still got this issue with the wing here. So I didn't even notice that at the start, but you can see how this wing is over there. So we just want to select that and remove that. Cool, that looks pretty good. Now that we've got big distractions out of the way, we can move on to the little distractions that make the photo just pop a bit more when you get rid of them. So, if you've got distractions on your subject, what you want to do is click on the subject layer, and now you're working on that one. So, with this, I also like to remove some reflections. So, see this reflection here as well as these marks. So that looks pretty decent. I'll keep that. So now one last thing that makes car photography specifically stand out is when you clean it up, don't just put a white block or a black square or blur it. Just select the plate and completely remove it. So that looks pretty good, and that already makes the photo look so much cleaner. Now we're going to just look at the generated parts and just see if there's anything that just stands out, like this plant over here. Just quickly over here as well. Cool, that looks pretty good. I'm happy with that on Photoshop. Now let's move over to Lightroom. So now that we have opened our photo in Lightroom, I'm using Lightroom Mobile. Whenever I edit a photo, I always start by applying a preset to my photos. So I'll be using my Ultimate Bundle. These are all of my presets. You can get them linked in the description. So this looks like a decent base to start off with, so we're going to use this one. So next thing I always do is I'll come to the light tab and make sure the preset suits the photo. Changing the exposure a bit, shadows, highlights, whatever I feel right. But now we can see the yellow looks slightly off. So what we'll do is come into the orange tab and the yellow tab and just play around with the colors until we're happy. That looks pretty good. Next, you'll see on the brake lights, it kind of looks a bit orange. So we come into the reds and we just make it more red, increase the saturation and just drop the luminance a little bit, just to make that red pop. Next is arguably the most important part of editing a photo, and that's the masking. So always, first mask I always do is a linear gradient from the bottom all the way to the car. Then just lower the exposure a little bit and just drop the saturation a little bit. That always just leads the eye all the way to the car. Next mask I like doing is find the light source, which in this case is over here. And I'll take a radial gradient and just make it come from the light source, just like that, towards the car. And then what I will do, effects, lower the clarity, lower the dehaze, just to get that foggy look. But now, got that glow all over the car, which we don't want. So we come to this minus, subtract mask 2, and subtract select subject. So now, as you can see, we've still got the mask, but it's not over the car anymore. So that's looking pretty good already, but now that we've emphasized the highlights on this side, let's get the shadows. So take another linear gradient, come from this side, the opposite side of the light, and just lower the exposure a bit, just to make a bit of contrast. Next, I always like making the sky a little foggy. So we go here, select sky, and lower the clarity, lower the dehaze. Then I always add to mask, add a brush tool and just go over the edges just to make that glow just pop a little bit more. Next up, this photo was taken quite early morning, so what we want to do is come back to this radial gradient and let's just go to the temperature and just increase the temperature a little bit just to add more of a warmth look from the sunrise. Then we'll go subject selection, always increase the contrast a little bit, go effects, increase the clarity, increase the dehaze a little bit, as well as add a bit of sharpness. Then as you can see here on the wheels, in person these wheels are quite bronze. In this photo they don't look too bronze. So let's go get a brush tool and just brush over the wheels. So now I'm just going to make a couple more tiny adjustments until we're happy with what we've got. Now one more thing I like to do just to make the car pop a little bit. It's a little trick that I use. I go into masks, take the brush mask and then go here to flow and just lower the flow to about 40. Then you want to just go with the mask just around the subject, roughly just around, just like that, and then go effects, lower the clarity, lower the dehaze just to get a little foggy look, and then just go over with the brush in areas where it just needs a bit of fixing, and then in some spots it's just a bit too much, so just remove. One more thing that I've noticed with this photo is this end plate gets lost in the background. So what we'll do, get a brush tool, just a rough selection, and we will increase the contrast just a little, and that makes a big difference. Here's before, after, and that's done.